So everyone, welcome. Thank you for bearing with me. So welcome to this short workshop, very much the crash course is of the crash course. Um, but today I will basically be talking about what an college application essay is, what kinds of essay I think there are that kind of works for colleges, and I will also give you like certain tips and tricks to focus on while you're writing your own essay. And then we will, towards the end off with a short exercise, like a short creative exercise, and then the platform will be open for questions as we move forward. Okay, so um, who am I? My name is Larisa. I graduated with a degree in neuroscience from Harvard last year. Ani Boston ma. With I work at a life science consulting firm. Um, I love tea. I like reading. I like going to museums, and I love cooking and learning how to make new recipes. TikTok and Instagram Reels is my go-to place to find new recipes. And if I could be any kitchen appliance, I would definitely be a blender because I feel like blenders are they're so versatile. They're so efficient. You put anything in it and it comes out into a smooth, fluid form. So seeing that always makes me very amused. So I would love to be a blender if I could be any kitchen appliance. So for people in the room, if you want to shout it out, if you want to put it in the chat, whatever you're comfortable with, if you could be a kitchen appliance, which one do you think you would be and why?
I think I'd like to be a pressure cooker and just let all the mental pressure go away.
You know what? That is absolutely brilliant. Ma, first time Nepal bata ita US आउँदाखेरि college ko लागि, the one thing I missed the most was a pressure cooker. Because I didn't have it and it's so difficult to cook with that one. Because if I don't have a pressure cooker.
Yes,
So
and
that is,
versatile at the same time.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, does anyone else have any ideas they'd like to share before I move forward? If no one has any ideas, we will move forward. So to begin with, I thought it would be like helpful to kind of break down like the whole idea of college application essays into like three very basic tropes. Again, as a caveat, there are more types of essays that you will see bes- besides these, but I feel like these are like helpful ideas to have. So I will be focusing on college application essays that you will write to schools in the US, because every school in the US, they will ask you for one basic like personal statement or your personal essay. And in addition to that, they will also have a lot of supplemental essays that they will ask. So some basic types of supplemental essay, why do you want to go to the school? What are your interests, your academic goals? All those basic kind of questions. But besides that, one big essay that you will have to write when you're applying to schools in the US is your basic personal statement. Or if you are using the common application platform to submit your applications, there will be like a common app essay. And I think this is like a really big task that you kind of have to undertake in order to apply. And I will acknowledge that writing essays and like writing your personal statements is a very difficult task because you kind of have to filter like your whole life story into, I don't know, like 600 words, which is a difficult task. I definitely acknowledge it. So to make that simple and to kind of demystify the application writing process, in my experience, what I found is that there are three basic kind of essay tropes that people mostly write about. So the first one is what I like to call the humble brag. So your essay ma चाहिँ focus कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ you will write about like your biggest accomplishments, what prizes you won, what competitions have you been a part of, and what you have basically accomplished in your life. But as you're like kind of tooting your own horn, it will still be kind of like you will try to be humble and you will try to still talk about the lessons you've learned while going outside your comfort zone. So an example of this could be, I know like Nepal ma, a very popular thing that people do in high school is they'll like participate in Olympiads and other competitions. So you can write about those sort of experiences, but make sure that you're still rooted in humility and you're talking mostly about what you've gained from these experiences. So you want to brag, but you kind of still want to stay humble, which is sort of an oxymoron. But you will still kind of like highlight your biggest accomplishments in life while still remaining grounded. So this is like the what I like to say, like a humble brag sort of essay. And then another type that you have is called basically like your personal story of overcoming difficulties in life. So we all have, outside of school, we all have our lives and we all have our identity. And अनि यो यस्तो तरिकाको एसेमा चाहिँ personal stories of overcoming difficulties, overcoming obstacles in life. There might be a lot of things that hold us back from, being our full potential. It could be our identity, it could be our background, it could be our socioeconomic status. So a lot of things that do pose as problems as we try to, accomplish things in life, try new things in life. So this is a very popular and also a very successful type of essay trope that I've seen a lot of my friends have write, a lot of other people have write, and it most of the times works. So your essay mate, an example of such an essay could be writing about how a certain, maybe like a social stereotype has held you back from, maybe trying out new things, from going outside of your comfort zone. And one thing that I think really adds up to telling your story of overcoming obstacles is you want to write about how it helps shape your identity and who you are as a person, and also your sense of the world. So what did it teach you about who you are, and what did it teach you about what your place in the world is, and how does it inspire you to move forward and kind of change the community around you and change the world at large around you. So think about your background, your obstacles, your difficulties you experience in life, and how that kind of helps you change your outlook in life. So this is like the second type of essay trope that I've seen works in a lot of different cases. And the third one is what I like to call the I'm quirky essay. I don't know if people have seen like the memes floating on the internet. People are like, "Oh, I'm so quirky. I'm so different." So showing schools, showing your admissions officer that you are different in a way, and there's something unique about you, is definitely like an essay formula that always works. Maybe always is a hard statement, but most of the times it does work. So in this essay, what you want to focus on is to answer this question: what sets you apart from the rest of the applicant pool? So मैले apply गर्ने बेलामा चाहिँ one thing that I struggled the most was, how do I make myself unique, right? And there are a lot of things that set us apart from the rest of the world. First, we are from Nepal, which is like, a small country. We have our own culture, we have our own stories. So think about how you can leverage your background to show these schools and to show these admission officers that you are unique in your own sense. And how can this unique identity and this unique background that you have, how can this be an asset that you can offer to life on campus? So a lot of these schools, what they focus on is creating like an exciting and interesting life on campus. And they're usually looking to create, they're not just like looking to accept a person, but they're looking to create a class. And so in a class, there's a limited number of Olympiad winners they want to have. There's a limited number of writers they want to have. There's a limited number of sports people that they want to have. So And then all the schools get thousands and thousands of um, applications every year. So you want to think about how you can offer your unique identity to the schools. And you want to highlight that in this sort of essay. So, what sets you apart? What makes you unique? What is something that only you can offer to making the life on campus unique? And again, these three different categories that I've highlighted, they're not mutually exclusive. You can always do combinations of this essay. You can do a humble brag and talk about all the obstacles you overcome in life. You can talk about how you're different, how you're unique, and also humble brag about it as you're talking about what is something unique that you bring to life on campus. So you can make like different combinations of these different essay tropes and write your own story. So the schools really do care about what you bring and what your personal story is. And all of us have beautiful stories. Um, but the hard task is that how do you write these stories to convince the schools that you are indeed a valuable student to have on their campus? And in the end, a very important idea to have in mind is as you're writing this different essay and you're, you know, creating your personal story, you want to always connect it to what your academic goals in life are and what are the sort of things you want to do outside of the class as well. So when I wrote my essay, मैले कहिले अप्लाई गरेको 2018 so 2018 so मैले चाहिँ 2018 साइकलको लागि अप्लाई गरेको थिएँ अनि यो बेलामा चाहिँ मेरो personal essay was I would say like a combination of like I'm quirky and an uphill battle. And I wrote about my interest in writing and my interest in science and how that combines with my ultimate interest of pursuing a degree in biology. So I wrote about why I like people, why I like listening to people's stories, again, talking about my interest in literature and writing. But I also connected that with my interest in science. So I talked about how I want to bring my love for science and literature together while I pursue a degree at any school that I go to. So you want to always connect your story back to how it ties up to your goals in life or your aspirations in life or what you want to do in college, both academically, also outside of the classroom. So kind of bring it all together to tie like a cohesive story. I know I just like threw a lot of information at you. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Happy to take any questions.
Hi, Larissa. Can you give a few tips on how to brag humbly?
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. Um, so त्यो humble brag essay लेख्दाखेरि चाहिँ मेरो एक्सपिरियन्समा helpful tips and tricks भनेको चाहिँ so I think you really have to be like very careful about the language that you use, right? So you want to definitely focus that you're great and you've accomplished great things in life. But you have to set the language in a way that shows you mostly focuses on like how you accomplished it and what was your takeaway lesson. And if you write Unsani, oh, my takeaway lesson from it was that I am the best and the world should worship me. So clearly this language is like very boastful, eh? Very dangerous. People won't want someone who is unhealthily like arrogant in a very unhealthy manner in their campus, right? They want someone who's capable, who is strong, who's accomplished, but also has the interest and the willingness to learn from other people. You know? So I think one helpful trick is to still show that you are willing to learn, you are willing to accept and acknowledge your mistakes, and at the same time also highlight what an amazing person you are. So I will say this is probably like one of the hardest essays to write, because you don't want to come off as like arrogant, right? But then it's difficult to talk about your accomplishments without sounding arrogant. So there are like lots of examples that you can find online if you like you read a lot of these essay examples in Sunny. Because I remember when I was applying, I used to look at like a lot of essay examples, and some people have done it really well, and it is possible to do it really well. I think the key here is to highlight your accomplishments and what you've um, learned from it, but while also showing that you are a person besides these prizes and medals you won, that you are still a person who is willing to learn and accept your mistakes and move forward in life with those lessons that you've kind of garnered from these experiences. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. If you have any follow-up questions and if I can clarify anything, definitely feel free to ask.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, if you have no questions, I'll move forward. So I just wanted to share like few tips and tricks. So अहिले चाहिँ so I live in Boston. अनि मेरो roommate पनि मैले कलेजमै भेटेको साथी हो. And so last night when I was trying to think about how I want to structure this workshop, I asked him like, oh, what are like some things that you would have liked to know when you were applying to schools and when you were writing your college application essay. So I think like these were like the key elements that we kind of filtered through from our conversation, which I wanted to share with you all. So first and foremost, when you're writing your essay, you definitely want to have like proper grammar, proper spelling, punctuation. And if you're using Word or Google Docs, it's my inbuilt spelling checker हुन्छ नि. So always use that spelling checker, always use punctuation, and always make sure you have like proper grammar when you're submitting your final draft to like the schools or any other places that you're applying for. Any I find one of the most annoying things about these essays is the word limit, but unfortunately, it is a rule. So you have to stick to your word count limits. I know it's very annoying, and I think I struggled with it a lot when I was applying, but it's very important that you stick to these word limits and you write your story within like 600 words or whatever limit they offer. But as you're kind of like staying with the word limit, one thing that is very important as your and it doesn't only relate to like the essay, but it relates to like your whole application that you construct while you're applying is you have to be able to tell a cohesive story. So cohesive story bana ke hota hai na? But an example of this is, so imagine someone was applying in any school like essay चाहिँ, was about their love for science. होइन अनि त्यो extracurricular activities that they've submitted, common application अथवा any other resume अथवा resumeमा लेखेको experiences was mostly in like, I don't know, like fiction writing. And your recommendation letter is from your physical education teacher who's talking about what a great sports person you are. So all of these different elements, I would say, they don't really match well. Right? They all look like very disjointed. They don't tell a very smooth story. So when you're writing your application essays, and whatever other extra material you submit, make sure that you're telling a story that kind of like comes together in a nice way, that is cohesive, that is held together meaningfully. So if your essay is talking about your love for, I don't know, maybe policy making, or your love for economics, or your love for science, make sure that you have some experience in your resume, in the things that you do outside of the classroom that shows that kind of serves like an evidence for what you're talking about in your essay, or some things that you think your teachers might mention in your recommendation letters. So, for example, if you are applying for school ko engineering program, so make sure you have like a recommendation letter from your science teacher or your physics teacher, whoever, or your math teacher. All of these are like helpful so that they can talk about your strengths and your talents in mathematics and science. You know? And in your essay, it doesn't always have to be about your love for engineering or your love for science, but make sure that you have some of it in maybe like your resume or in the extra essay you write, or maybe even in your personal essay. So make sure like everything is cohesive and everything kind of tells a story that fits well with the rest of your application. You don't want to confuse your admissions officer. You want to convince them that you are the whole package, that you have what it takes to succeed on their campus. So you kind of want to tell a story that brings everything together, that is cohesive, that tells your story well, that talks about your interests, your backgrounds in a cohesive manner. Um, and one other thing that people really like to see in this college application essay is that you have shown initiative, and you have interests outside of the classroom. So, you can always talk about how much you love to learn and how much you love to solve math equations or to write essays or whatever that might mean for you. But it also has to show that how does this interest set you apart, and how have you taken initiatives, maybe in your community, in your locality, or in what ways have you tried to make an impact in the people around you? So, an example of this could be um, someone who is interested in reading and literature, but they don't just like get books from the library and read books in their spare time. People want to see someone who is very much committed to their interest, to their passion. And maybe someone was interested in reading, but they didn't have maybe like a reading club or a literature club in their school. So they went out of their way to start a club. Maybe they put up like an informal reading club in their school. Maybe even they started up like a formal student organization in their school. So just ways to like talk about how you took initiative because you didn't have you didn't see something that could have served other people like it would have served you, and then you went out of your way to start something. It doesn't have to be big. You don't have to start like a non-profit. You don't have to start up like an organization or something. Just something small, as like an informal reading club within you with your friends, or starting up like a volunteering organization that you do on Saturdays with your friends. Or it's just something that shows that you go out of your way to make change, to make an impact in your small locality, in your small community. What kind of just like sets you apart, and what are your unique skills that you bring to the community around you? And so in showing this in a way, it really helps um write like a really good story and shows you as like someone who people want to have on their campuses. Ani, I guess I don't really know what levels people are here in this group, but one thing that you will probably like really hear a lot when you like really start getting into like the final stages of writing like your college application is every school has what they call a fit. Um, and so when you're writing your application materials, your essays, your extra supplemental essays, your recommendation letters, or whatever everything else that they might ask, make sure that you're catering your application materials to show that you're a good fit for the school. So your college application process, Mate, what basically happens is so every school has like a sort of identity. They have like their quirks, their characteristics, and they want to find people who fit those characteristics. So I went to Harvard. So Harvard has like a particular type of people that they look for, because and that becomes a fit for them. So someone who has made an impact in the community, someone who has done has cool interests, have made like some sort of an impact outside of school. So those are kind of like the things that make someone fit well with Harvard. But then I know मेरो अर्को roommate say she went to University of Miami, and she told me that they really care about grades. They really care about like what you learn in classroom. And so for them, someone who is like very studious, has like really big ambitions, like academic ambitions, those would be a good fit for school like University of Miami. But someone who is like has done a lot of things outside the classroom, maybe in terms of clubs or activities or jobs, that doesn't fit well with University of Miami. But it will definitely fit very well with like other liberal arts school or like smaller liberal arts school around the US. So you really have to take a feel for what the fit is for the school. Ani यसको लागि चाहिँ one helpful trick to find out what these schools want is to talk with students who currently go there. LinkedIn is a great place to like find other Nepali people who have gone to these schools or who are currently studying at these schools, find friends of friends, and ask them what type of people like usually get into this kind of schools, because everyone has like a dream school that they want to get into, right? So talk to other kids or like other students, other Nepali people who are currently studying at these locations. And I think Kuhira class is like a really great platform because it allows you to like talk to people. You have like people who have gone to all these great places, so you can have access to these people and you can ask questions. हुन्छ नि म कस्तो खाले essay चाहिँ works best अथवा कस्तो खाले activities should I be focusing outside of the classroom, or how much like grades or like what sort of scores do I need to get into a school, what other extra application essays should I be submitting. So all these ideas, it really helps you get a feel for what the schools are looking for if you're able to like connect with someone who currently goes there or maybe who graduated from there in the past. So these are some things that I think is helpful to have at the top of mind as you're writing your application essays. Does anyone have any questions here? Happy to take questions. Okay. So no questions. So I think we can move forward to an act. I thought it would be cool to do an activity together. Your room मा चाहिँ भएको so the audience members मध्ये चाहिँ have you ever done like an activity called the Tree of Life? Raise your hand if you have. Or anyone who knows what this activity is. Okay, I will take silence as a no. So Tree of Life is I did this activity a while back in your that one as it was like a pre-writing exercise. And I think it really helps you think about like your identity and your background and to realize that you have all these like cool things in your personal story. So Tree of Life ma चाहिँ, the basic idea is you're building like a tree about yourself. You're building a tree about your life story. So think of yourself, think of your background, your identity as a tree. I mean, what aspects of your life do you think will make up this tree? So what are like some parts that a tree has? Like, so we have the roots, we have the soil, we have the treeको body, the trunk, and we have branches, we have leaves, we have fruits, we have flowers. So what parts of your life constitute these particular individual tree pieces? So when you think about the roots, you want to think about where do you come from? What are your roots? So this could be your ethnic background, your cultural background, the community that you come from. It can be about any sort of, that's something that really defines where you come from, right? So your roots, your history, your background. I mean, thinking about the soil. So tree, what, so the main function or like the main service that the soil does is it provides nourishment or like nutrition to the tree, right? So you want to think about what makes your soil, what nourishes you, what inspires you to do the things that you do, what gives you that extra push to wake up every morning and, tackle the tasks, the big um, ordeals that you have to take in your life. So, what inspires you, what nourishes you, becomes your soil. And you think about the body of the tree, the trunk. What supports you? What beliefs do you have in life? What values that you hold in life? Um, it could be, I don't know, that I want to be a good leader in my community, or it could be I want to be a scientist, right? It could be I want to be able to help other people, or it could be I want to do like cool coding projects and make something helpful to the people. So it could be what beliefs and like values that you hold in life and what truly supports you in your everyday day-to-day tasks, in your long-term goals. So kind of just like what supports you, what values do you have in life. Any but trunk, but we can go to leaves, you can go to branches. So basically the branches and the leaves help the tree reach forward, right? Reach upwards into higher levels, higher altitudes. So leaves ko bale Masuzaki, you want to think about what are like some of your hopes and dreams in life. What are things you want to achieve? What are your long-term goals, your short-term goals? What sort of ambitions that you have in life? Leaves ko bale matay. And then moving forward, fruits. So fruits are the future, right? So what sort of like legacy or what sort of like trail that you want to leave behind? What sort of things that you hope for the future? So those can be your fruits. So if everyone has like, I don't know, maybe like a piece of paper or something, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen if you don't have one already, and think about your tree of life. Think about what are your roots, what is your soil, what are the leaves, and what are the fruits that you want to leave for the future. And maybe we can take like 5. We don't have enough time because we did start late. So maybe let's take like 5 minutes to write your own tree of life, your own stories, and then we'll do a little sharing activity after. So I'll start the timer. I have my timer right here. The 5 minutes. Let's take 5 minutes to create your own tree of life. And while you're doing it, I am here if you want to ask any questions. Okay, mirror timer and bio. Is there anyone who would be interested to share with us um, what they've thought about? Perfect.
Okay. So I didn't write much, but um, my soil could be some alone time and at the same time some good friends. Weird. And then my roots could be self reflection, some good cringy romance books, and humility.
Mm-hmm.
And then my trunk is basically leadership roles, a good computer science degree, and happy working space.
Mm-hmm.
My leaves could be my family, better future, and self acceptance. And
Mm-hmm.
then my fruit could be a good enough tech startup.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for kicking us off with such beautiful ideas. So thank you so much for sharing things about your tree of life. I loved hearing it. Very interesting things, right? So you talked about like your ambitions in life, but you also talked about things that help you feel grounded in life, like your friends, your community, your family, your alone time, the cringy romance books that we all love. So thank you so much for sharing. It was very beautiful. And again, these can seem like seemingly small things, but these are like core parts of your identity, and you can always like spring some interesting stories from these like small roots that you sowed with your tree of life. Would anyone else be interested to share? We will move forward. So this kind of brings us to the end of the workshop. So we've shared. So thank you so much for joining me today. In your evenings, I know you must have like homework to do or other things to tend to, but thank you so much for giving me your time, your ears, your attention. Thank you so much for engaging with me, for sharing your tree of life, for asking your questions. And I'm very grateful that I got to share my experience with you. So thank you so much for your time.